The first thing you notice when you arrive in Cartagena is the heat. You feel it as soon as you step off the airplane. It's almost as if the sun itself had decided to focus all of its strength in this one particular place.
Feels like weaving in the conversation.
The second thing you'll notice in Cartagena, once your Uber or taxi has made it the 20 minutes from the airport, along the coast, past the local neighborhoods, where you see people drinking cervezas on every corner, and you see kids playing in the street. Once you make it through those areas, presumably to old Cartagena, where most people end up. Once you have passed all that, my friends, the second thing to leave an impression will be the salespeople.
Hi, look at this. Permiso.
No necesito, gracias.
Look at this. La mirada es gratis, almost free.
They are, how to put this gently, persistent. Another word for it could be aggressive. Another word for it could be annoying, depending on the state of mind and how you choose to perceive things. But speaking of perception, another word for it could be entertaining. If you see it as part of the experience of being in Cartagena, that you're going to be approached over and over and over and over, and people will be offering you beers, massages, what else? Restaurants, tours, fake sunglasses, illegal substances, cigars, the list goes on. Once you have been offered these things 46 times and you have said no 46 times, you may begin to feel some emotion rising inside of you. You may begin to feel annoyed. You may begin to feel that somehow all these people, all these locals trying to sell you things is taking away from your experience in Cartagena. You want to look at historic walls like this, but some guy keeps throwing some papers in front of you and trying to sell you his tour. Get out of here, local guy. I'm trying to see Cartagena. But what if that local guy is Cartagena? I don't mean the tour he's selling. I mean the experience of him being there. I overheard something interesting earlier today on my first walk around the city. Three big guys, Americans I assume, but they were three large fellas wearing baseball caps. I'm gonna go ahead and guess they're Americans. Could be Canadians. But one guy said to the other, he said, like, as they were walking, he was basically saying, like, don't even stop and look at them, because as soon as you look at them, they're gonna start talking to you, and then you're gonna get trapped. And I was just kind of laughing to myself, thinking about that for a minute. Because on the one hand, I know exactly what he's talking about. If you are in a rush, or you're just not in the mood where you want to stop and be sold something for a very long time, you probably shouldn't make eye contact and say hello to that person selling fruit on the street. But on the other hand, what kind of world have we entered into where we will travel to countries and feel like we can't even look at the people who are living there? It's a weird situation, this tourism thing. It's a strange game, tourism. It's a strange game. I think a balance can be had between preserving ourselves and our own energy and our own time. Because make no mistake, aggressive salespeople are annoying. And one way to help the culture to change is just not to support people who are being aggressive and following you down the street. Because presumably it would work sometimes or they wouldn't do it, right? But on the other hand, I think a balance has to be found where you don't give in to this idea, as we see a first look at the sparkling waters of the Caribbean Sea. We don't give in to the idea that everyone trying to talk to us is somehow trying to scam us, or that they're somehow not worthy of even a look as we pass down their streets in their city. Now, this is my second visit to Cartagena, and if I remember correctly, there's a nice little place, I think it's called Terraza Municipal, which just means, well, terraza is like terrace, municipal is like, what would that be, the city terrace? Somebody speaks better Spanish than me, tell me if my translation is correct. It actually looks like it might be closed, but I'll give you a little bit of B-roll of what this place looks like. It's a nice place to catch the sunset if you're ever in the old town, looking for a place to chill with a drink. That's cool. Let's see if I can zoom in on that boat. Man, it's almost like a pirate ship with a giant Colombian flag in the back. The wall around Cartagena was built 500 years ago to stop piracy. Watch out, my friends, I think the pirates are back. So now the pirates are taking photos and they have their English speaking tour guide. I think it's a group of tourists. If I can find my way out, I think they locked that gate. Dan, what have you done this time? That's what happens when you go wandering somewhere where all the chairs are overturned. Oh well. Part of the reason I'm filming this video, by the way, is to remind myself, not just you, like I hope it doesn't sound like I'm preaching here, like be more like Dan, you know, don't worry about the salespeople. I'm literally saying this to myself as well, as a reminder to not get annoyed. Because, okay, I'll tell you the story, okay? Today it's Sunday around 2 p.m., which is why I'm the only one crazy enough to be enduring the sun right now. But I arrived on a flight late last night from Medellin, Colombia, the beautiful city of eternal spring. And I was immediately dropped into the city of eternal scorching heat, and I was hungry. It'd been a long day of travel, not too long, but you know, flying always takes a bit out of you, and I was hungry. I wanted to get a nice drink before bed, get some street food, and just on the little walk from my hotel, immediately I was hit by all these people trying to sell me cigars, etc., etc. And eventually I bought a beer, or no, I bought a caipirinha, I should say, and I sat in a beautiful square called Plaza Trinidad, where there's a historic church, there's a great atmosphere, a lot of tourists hang out there. But again, it was literally every 20 seconds someone would try to sell me a beer or something, and I literally had a full drink and I would just hold it. I'd be like, no, I'm good. After that, it happened a few times. I actually moved to find a quieter place to sit. Slight change of plan. I'm gonna walk down this street because this one looks very beautiful. Hopefully you can catch some of this as I ramble, but yeah, I was sitting there, and by the time I'd finished my drink, I was ready for bed. I was like, that's enough of that. And I started to think, did I make a mistake? Should I have stayed in Medellin? The constant traveler's dilemma, where you're happy in one place, you're like, oh, I could stay here forever. But the road is always calling. There's always more places to see, and so you travel. And sometimes you start to miss the last place you're at. Sometimes you think you wish you could do a U-turn and go back. And I suppose you can. But the road is always calling, my friends. And so we continue down it. Sometimes we feel we made a mistake. Sometimes we feel we just don't click with a place. And I remember my first time 2 years ago in Cartagena, feeling like it was not my city. But I do have very fond memories of some things. And I'm going to show you a couple of them today. And as we do this, we're going to remind ourselves that life is what we make of it. And you can choose how you react to certain situations. There's this song by the Velvet Underground. There's this one particular lyric where they go, "I do believe you are what you perceive, and what's to come is better than what came before." And ever since I first heard that, I was like, damn, that's a good line. And I've been thinking about it quite often, actually. And hey, look, speak of the devil, here is Plaza Trinidad, the place I was having my drink last night. It's way calmer at the moment. I'll have to show you how it looks at night sometime. You won't believe how different it is. But going back to that line, I do believe you are what you perceive. When we think about Cartagena, could it be that we are what we perceive? Could it be that we could perceive it in a negative light? The heat, the salespeople, the scammers. Or we could step back a bit and really look at the architecture, really look at the beautiful slow pace of life we have here. Really look at the mix of cultures that we have here, the mix of, you know, the African influenced Caribbean with the Colombian soul, and realize that we are in a very fascinating city here, my friends. And it comes and goes in waves, it really does. One moment you're like, I want to get out of here, and the next you're like, oh my God, this city's incredible. Now, part of the reason I have negative memories of Cartagena, if I'm going to be brutally honest with you, is that last time I was traveling in Colombia with my ex-girlfriend, and our relationship ended poorly in a way that has made me, well, you know how it is. It's like a house you shared with someone. It's like it becomes part of the memory. And I think the negativity around our breakup really influenced how I saw Cartagena, and even Medellin, because we traveled to Medellin together too. You know, it's like locations are so attached to memory, you know. It kind of brings back some things that I'd rather move on from. And the spirit of moving on from all that, you know, I'm not gonna spend too long talking about it here, but you know, me and this girl also spent time in Medellin, and frankly, I was asking myself when I booked this trip if I should even go back. You know, I was almost like, I just want to move on with my life. I don't want to retrace my steps. Maybe I'll just be like, I was sad and mopey the whole time, thinking about the past. But quite the opposite. Oh, excuse me. Someone's ran into that server. Gotta be careful when you're vlogging, one of the occupational hazards. Running into random people with plates of food. But as I was saying, it was quite the opposite. I actually met some really cool new people in Medellin. Made a group of friends. Maybe not friends for life, but friends for a week. The type of friends you make when you're traveling and you enjoy good times with. And you promise to meet again one day, but you usually don't. Such is life on the road. It's a lonely life sometimes, my friends. But it's the only life for me. Anyway, as I was saying, there's a feeling attached to a place sometimes. Whenever you go back there, it can bring you back to a point in your life. You know, it's like, you ever visit your old high school or whatever many years later? Wow, that is a trippy experience. But anyway, I felt like on my trip to Medellin, it was actually a beautiful way of letting go of the past and embracing the present. And going back to that quote, you are what you perceive. I do believe that you are what you perceive. If you choose to, and by the way, this doesn't, you know, this is bigger than Colombia. This same principle can apply to your own city. If you ever feel like the place that you live is getting overwhelmed with crime, or it's not what it used to be, or it's too expensive, or there's too much, you know, insert whatever problem you have at the end of that sentence. Maybe ask yourself if it could be you that has chosen to perceive things in a very negative way. It could be you that is attached to something in the past which you want to bring back, which will never come back. Because time only moves in one direction. Much like these narrow one-way streets in the old town of Cartagena, there is no going back. And so, to fully embrace your travels, and I would say your life, you need to be here now as much as possible. And I want to thank you for being here now with me in this video. As we move a bit deeper, and don't think about the aggressive salespeople or any of the cliche problems here in Cartagena. Ironically, this whole time I've been talking, I haven't even really been approached by any salespeople. Earlier, before I was filming, it happened quite a few times, but you know, such is life. Now this is actually one edge of the old town, and in the distance you can get a look at, I don't know if it's fair to call it New Cartagena, because it's really just Cartagena. I mean, most of Cartagena, well over 90% of it, exists outside of this walled area. And so, and by the way, I'm thinking about making a video outside of out there in the local Cartagena. We'll see if I feel up to it. But for the time being, let's continue walking in no particular direction. Stopping just to check out some of the street art, which is so common in this city. This place on the left, by the way, Colombia, Italia, makes some very good arepas with all different types of toppings. I think it's time for some lunch. What do you say? A lot of touristy restaurants around here. I'm gonna look for a place that looks local. Maybe we just found the spot. Buena opción típica.
Que quiere una buena opción típica.
Sí.
Pescado, pescado.
Pescado.
Hay que comer fish.
Gracias. Well, that was an insane amount of food. The fish was falling off the bone. I didn't talk to you in the restaurant because there was music playing from the television, and also those big portable fans were blasting on full, so you couldn't hear much in there. But I do want to point out, when I got the menu, it said that the fish combo cost 20,000, and they basically said no, it's 25,000. Now they told me that before I sat down and ordered, so it's not like they were pulling something on me a bit later when it was too late. But you know, again, there are two ways to look at that. I could hold a grudge and I could say, wait, did they just charge me an extra 5,000 because I am clearly una turista? Or, you know, it's a time of inflation. Maybe it is an old menu. Maybe 25,000 is the price. Who knows? Depends how you perceive it. But how I'm deciding to perceive it today is that I just had an amazing, freshly cooked fish, which was probably caught earlier today, given that fishing is such a big part of the diet here, or the economy, I should say, the economy here in Cartagena on the Caribbean coast. So I am walking out with a smile and with a full stomach. Nice plaza here. It's the monument to the memory of the 11th of November, 1811. Ah, it says the Act of Independence of Antigua. I will presume, not being an expert on Colombian history, but I will presume that that was the independence from Spain in 1811. That seems to be about the time when a lot of the Spanish colonies of the New World, hola, were getting their independence. I thought that guy there was that guy in the white. I thought he was a tour guide at first, speaking to a group, but I think he is preaching something. Kind of looks like he's holding a Bible. Buenas tardes. Now that my stomach is full, I think it's time to find somewhere in the shade to go lay down, possibly take a little siesta. I will see you guys in a couple hours. Peace. Okay, we're back. I was going to show you the sunset, but I guess I slept a bit too long. Sunset's around 6 p.m. here, and I woke up at like, a few minutes after 6. I needed that nap. Oh, but there, up ahead, you can see the fading light of the day. Yeah, and this here is where I started my wandering video. I'll give you a little look to prove that it is more than just overturned chairs. Yeah, this is nice. Oh, I wish I'd seen the sunset. Oh well. There's always tomorrow. And there's always the next video as well, because I just found out something very interesting. The staff member at my hotel is working until 9 o'clock, and then when he's off, he just invited to take me and some other people to this local food festival happening out of Old Cartagena. And he said it's a very local event. You know, just as I was thinking to myself, it would be cool to show another side of the city. This chance just kind of fell out of the sky, and then that's the cool thing about leaving your schedule open. You can say yes to opportunities like that. You say yes to whatever comes your way. Sometimes those unplanned moments end up being the highlight of your whole trip. You know what this is? Welcome to the Fried Food Festival here in Cartagena. We've left the old town. Some of the staff at my hostel told me about this. There's a small group of us going. It seems to be a very local Colombian thing. Not too many tourists over this way, but should be a good time. Let's see what it's all about.
La que no me va a dejar nunca. ¿Dónde está Cartagena? Bendita la gente no se viendo. ¡Qué rico! ¡Qué rico!
Hola, ¿cómo estás? ¿Qué es eso? ¿Con carne?
Arepa de huevo.
Muy bonita, gracias.
Amigo, la manita, 2 por 5.
Ok, seguimos. Bueno, mi gente, continuamos. Noche del Festival del Frito.
People are grabbing the chairs. This shit crazy.
Todos los ojos. Hay morenas no sentarse. Mira, comiendo frito. Vamos a ver. Tiene un pase, bienvenida, tiene un pase. Mira que mañana descansa todavía.
La vida te obliga, sácala, lo que se la tierra, tenemos paga, me tengo que aspirar.
So that was it, my friends. The Festival del Frito, literally the festival of fried foods here in Cartagena. But we had more than fried food today. We had some great music, great vibes. Gotta love it. Have a good night, everyone from Cartagena. Hasta luego. Yeah.